This program was made possible by viewers like you. Thank you.
Tumbletown Tales! Starring Tumbleweed. This new fountain is the perfect addition to the front of my castle. It is so beautiful and it is so original. Oh, look, a bigger fountain in front of the castle of my neighbor and arch nemesis, Zeus.
Your fountain is so little.
No.
What is this show? Not a ton of people have heard of it, which, considering it was a staple of my childhood, is kind of shocking. I grew up in a fairly small town in Utah that existed just to provide tax breaks for a copper mine and a company that produced both sports equipment and solid rocket fuel. The town itself was made up of predominantly small, unkept roads with bars and churches spaced equally on either side, a few suburban houses built decades ago, and fields. The fields themselves didn't even have anything growing. It was just land, owned by who knew who, surrounded by barbed wire and signs telling us kids that us and our garbage weren't wanted. This show was made in Toronto, which is about as far away as you can get from my hometown without leaving the continent. So I've always wondered, why am I seemingly the only one who knows about this? To be fair though, I'm getting ahead of myself. I never actually answered that first question. What is Tumbletown Tales? Tumbletown Tales was written by Phil McCordick and Steve Daguerre in-house at TV Ontario, about Tumbleweed the hamster, who is also voiced by Phil McCordick. Despite living in a castle in a town named after himself, Tumbleweed is actually only the Minister of Transportation and a part-time newspaper delivery boy. He also moonlights as an announcer for the town's Siesta Festival, which occurs every day for 1 minute at 4:15 p.m.
Fiesta! Welcome to Fiesta! Yaman!
Besides Tumbleweed, the show also features many minor side characters such as Tumbleweed's cousin Burfy, a boat captain based out of Tumbleweed's moat, and one of the most commonly recurring characters, a chinchilla that just says,
Chinchilla! No, that's not an option. Chinchilla! Okay, buses. Chinchilla!
Each episode was only around 3 minutes long to teach basic math concepts in a fun and unique way. The show is designed for children, but in my opinion, it contains references and jokes that I believe still hold up today.
If you count them, you will know.
Who said that? What? Hello?
If you count them, you will know.
What are you doing in my garden?
Hey man, I was just trying to help.
I thought that was the entirety of the show for the majority of my life until I managed to get a hold of the creators of the show. There's basically no information about the show online. There's really no Wikipedia page, no IMDb page. They exist, but they're so sparse, it's impossible to glean any information about the show off of them. But it turns out there's a lot more to it than just these simple 3-minute episodes, none of which made it quite out of Canada, and especially not to the United States. I managed to get a hold of Phil on Skype, who was able to tell me a little bit more about where the show itself came from.
I was a host on TVO Kids, which is the interstitial on TV Ontario, which is like I said, it's sort of like a local PBS station. It's the province-wide educational broadcaster. And because we don't play any commercials on that station, we would have hosts during the kids segments in the afternoon to come on in between the shows and fill in the gaps so everything could start on time. So it was me and Patty was the name of the girl. And then we, at some point, got a hamster to co-host with us, a pet for the show. And so we had the kids write in, and the kids decided to name the hamster Tumbleweed because we had a number of choices so that they could pick from, and they called in and voted. And then Tumbleweed the hamster became a thing. And then it wasn't long before I started doing the voice of the hamster on the show. And then it wasn't too much longer after I started doing, so he sort of became the third host of the show.
Well, that was Timothy Goes to School.
Hey, Phil.
Yeah, Tumbleweed.
I really liked on Timothy how they had a stone of friendship.
Yeah?
But you know what?
What?
I have a seed of friendship, and I want to give it to you because you're my best friend.
Oh, thanks, Tumbleweed. Where is it?
Oh, it's in that box right there.
Oh, this?
Oh, no, that's the hockey glove of fortitude, not the seed of friendship.
Oh, okay.
No, that's the fish of happiness.
Oh,
Oh, that's the artichoke of reflection.
The artichoke of reflection?
Uh-huh. No, toothbrush of wisdom, a key of resignation, magnifying glass of self-knowledge, crown of positivity, cell phone of glory.
Not the cell phone of talking to people?
No, that's a different phone.
Oh, okay.
And, that's the paintbrush of generosity.
That's the last thing in the box, though, Tumbleweed. There's no seed
Oh,
in.
you know what? I ate it.
You ate it?
I forgot. I totally ate it. But that's okay. I can get you some more. Boy, I knew I should have used a memo pad of remembrance.
Yeah. I'll put this stuff back.
And then, yeah, I don't remember who, maybe it was our boss or something, came to us and said, why don't we make a spin-off show for Tumbleweed, and we can talk about math and that sort of thing, and we can do it like that. And I was like, great. And I went away and I wrote it and created the show Tumbletown Tales, and we shot it for, I don't know, $80 with the in-house crew and the in-house props department, which is basically just buying toys off the shelf, which is why everything is the wrong scale.
Apart from the show itself, the interstitials never quite made it out of Canada. I didn't even know they existed until Phil told me about them. Though, to truly examine the roots of Tumbletown Tales, we've got to go way further back than 2004. It turns out the show has roots dating back to the 1960s, in the form of another hamster-related Canadian kids show.
The riverbank is very quiet today, and Roderick is a little bored. Hammy isn't bored, though. He loves shopping. Oh, hello, Miss Much. Especially where there's food involved. Hammy, leave that apple alone. Oh, you have to pay for what you eat, you know. As Hammy and Roderick didn't have any money on them, they decide it's probably time to leave. After all, shopping may be good fun, but it has to be paid for.
Doing research for this show has made me realize that we're a little bit overdue for a continuation of Tumbletown Tales. It seems like every 20 years or so, there's a new saga in the Tales of the Riverbank series. I'm not going to count this abomination, though.
Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
Crazy.
And where do you think you're off to? Poor Hammy, he just can't speak. Well, speak up. I won't eat you. What's your name?
Oh, Hammy, sir.
Lost, I suppose. Best thing you can do is to find your friends.
Please, sir, I haven't got any.
Fiddlesticks. Go up the bank a little way. You'll find Mr. Whiterat's house. He's just the man for you. Yeah.
Tales of the Riverbank was originally made in the 1960s, and then an updated version was made in the late 70s and early 80s. It was made by a Canadian studio and picked up by the BBC. And this actually did manage to make it to the United States, but it was way before my time. I didn't realize it existed either until Phil told me about this as well.
Yeah, like it's basically Hammy Hamster. Do you know Hammy Hamster? Have you guys have that in the States? It was another show with a hamster. Like basically, I think it was in the 80s.
Show?
That's it. Tales of the Riverbank. That's there was a show, back in the 80s, but it was very sort of pedantic and quiet. And, we decided to do a hamster show, that was a little bit more insane.
Oh no, can I do that again? I said free too early.
Now that I've kind of explained where Tumbletown Tales comes from, I guess it's time to answer that other question. How am I seemingly the only person who's watched this? Talking to Phil via Skype and Steve, the other creator, via email, they were both kind of shocked that I had seen it at all. Phil just assumed that I was in Canada when I watched it.
So it never really had a packaging as a show. It was never sold internationally. It just sort of lives on TVO and online now. I don't even know if they air it on TVO. They might not. It might just be online.
In my search for how this wound up in my neck of the woods, there was one company's name that kept popping up. Chip Taylor Communications was my first lead when searching for how this got to the United States. Whenever you watch Tumbletown Tales on YouTube, they're the first ones to come up. I decided to check out Chip Taylor's website, and I dug all through it. I searched through every category, and I couldn't find anything about Tumbletown Tales. There's basically no record on their website of it. So I decided on a whim that I would just shoot them an email and see if they had any information about it. I got a response from Chip Taylor himself, which I was kind of surprised about. He wasn't able to tell me too much information, but it seems like they might have been pretty involved in the distribution of this show, even if they weren't the ones who distributed it to the United States. Looking online, the only two American stations I can see that broadcast the show were UEN, which is a university-run television network here in Utah, and a Kentucky station, which makes this even weirder that it's just in two random places. For such a simple, lighthearted show, it's actually been really phenomenally frustrating figuring out how this made its way into Utah. I contacted somebody at UEN, and they were so helpful. It was amazing. They gave me all the information they had, but that led to a dead end. And I contacted somebody at the Kentucky station, and they were also just amazing. But this is just one of those things that I don't know if I'll ever have an answer. I guess if anything, the real takeaway for me for this is just a justification in my desire to work in the same industry. Everyone was so nice and so helpful, and this is definitely where I want to be. It sounds like it was kind of just a fluke that I watched it at all, and I guess I should be grateful. And for that, I kind of want to share it around. I feel like this show deserves to have more people watch it. It's not the answer I was looking for. I really wanted to get to the bottom of how this was distributed, and I was hoping for something a little bit more grandiose, but this is okay. This has been a wild journey, and I never would have expected to get in touch with anyone, let alone the two people who made this show. So even though this has kind of an anticlimactic end, I'm satisfied. Hey, you're probably sick of hearing my voice, but thanks for watching this. I don't really have anything on my YouTube channel, and I'd like to change that. I don't know if all of my videos are going to be like that, but I guess maybe subscribe, and we'll see where this goes. Again, huge thanks to Film Critic especially. If He was, it's great. I'm flabbergasted that he would even talk to me.